Dirt Diary, I'm running around and bringing you the South East Queensland Island comparison. So it's definitely a runaway winner, but you need a week minimum. Coming last, that is BS in my opinion. Now, I've had the privilege over the last 2.5 years to do a lot of travel around the South Queensland Islands, and those islands being Moreton, Fraser, Stradbroke and DI. And in all of those travels, I've found a way to be able to compare the islands to one another and find the one that seems to score the best. And the way that the scoring system is going to work, we're going to rate them from 1 to 4 stars. 4 stars being the best of the best. We're talking about comfortability, drivability, cost-friendly, best camp spots, all of the above. And if something ranks 1 star, it's expensive, it's hard work, it's time-consuming, it's not very easy breezy on the car or yourself or your budget. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna work through all of my points, rank them all. You guys can come along for the ride. You're more than welcome to put into the comment section if you think that I've done something wrong. This is just my opinion over the last 2.5 years, and see if we all land on the same page. So let's jump straight into it. So some of the things that we will be challenging today are the cost of arrival and departure, the costs of being on the island, the driving difficulty, the campsite quality, the activities and attractions, how much time you need off work, and so on and so on. So let's start it off with the cost of arrival and departure. Taking the cake with 4 stars. The island that has ranked in at 4 stars between Fraser, Moreton, Stradbroke and DI is understandably DI. Now we all know that DI actually isn't an island. If you're not from South East Queensland and you're watching from WA, it's not actually an island, it is called DI, but there is a barge for you to be able to get onto the island. There is an inland track, but the inland track isn't always accessible. It does need maintenance. When the tide is high and when the weather is bad, it's completely washed out and covered with water, so sometimes you can't use it. And then in that case, there's not really any other way that you can get on and off the island unless you want to be one of those brave people that drives the headland at Rainbow. But again, that's an extremely tidal venture to try to achieve. So we're going to treat it like it's one of the islands. In the case of the cost of arrival and departure, Double Island takes the cake as 4 stars, being the cheapest. I think the barge for me to get on here today and every other time cost me 20 bucks, and that's just because I'm towing a trailer, so it's only 10. So coming in at 3 stars in this case for the most budget friendly, next would actually be Fraser, which is quite surprising. The thing with this is there is the Hervey Bay barge, it's extremely expensive, but there's a cheaper alternative. You can take the in-skip barge, which I've done every single time. It's just over $100 with the trailer, I believe, don't quote me on it. I know $100 is a fair bit of money, but believe it or not, with the South East Queensland Islands, it's actually the second cheapest option. Then coming in at 2 stars, we have Stradbroke. Stradbroke blew me away the 2 times that I went on there with how expensive it was. The distance of the barge, yes, I was towing a trailer. By the way, all of these prices is constantly with me having the jet ski on. That's how many times I've done all of these islands, that I've done it with and without a trailer. So I'm trying to give you the most expensive outlook, and that would be towing as well. And Stradbroke is pretty expensive. I want to say it was a few $100s. It wasn't as much money as Moreton. Moreton definitely is the dearest, but Stradbroke is pretty up there, which is quite disappointing because it's the kind of island that you'd be happy to do a day run to, and unfortunately with the price, it's not something that people are as attracted to going and doing just for a quick day run on a Sunday. And then coming in at 1 star, the most expensive is Moreton Island. So Moreton is the most expensive and Double Island is the least expensive. So Moreton loses this rank and Double Island wins. Now moving on, costs to be on the island itself. Now naturally this is going to be determined a little bit by default to the size of the island, and I'm sure you can understand that we're comparing very different island sizes, meaning very different costings. Coming in at 4 stars, the most budget friendly to explore the island is Double Island, and that is a little bit circumstantial and self-explanatory. There isn't as much to do. There's no need for a servo because it's not that big. You don't need multiple days to do it, so you're not having multiple tanks of fuel. And there's not a whole lot of activities. There are a couple of things you can go and do, a few walks. You can come to Bayside, you can camp on the other side. But other than that, you're not really burning through that many costings. You don't need that much groceries. You don't need that many tanks of fuel. So that one wins at 4 stars. Number 3. Stop it. Coming in at 3 stars, being the next most competitive, is Stradbroke. Interesting, I know, but I am just doing it off the money that I actually spent while being on there. Stradbroke is the next most competitive on price, because of the size of it and the amount of activities and the general costings of it. It is much more fuel friendly because you are able to drive on blacktop. The activities is a little bit on the lower side, and the amount of time that you need to be on that island to see all of the best isn't that much time. So that one comes in at 3 stars. The next island coming in at 2 stars for the costings to be on the island is Moreton. You're driving on sand, you're driving on inland tracks to be able to get anywhere. It is fairly costly if you do need to get fuel on the island, I can be honest about that. And some of the activities are a little bit costly as well. Camping is much of a muchness. They're all seemingly the same price you book through the Queensland government anyway. So comparably to the island that ranks in at number 1, being Fraser, being the most expensive island to travel on and live on, is purely based off the fact that Fraser is like 3-4 times, maybe even 10 times the size. It's huge. Because of that, because of how much beach driving you need to do, because you will need to get another tank of fuel while you're on Fraser, maybe even 3, and because of how much time you're going to need to spend on the island, we're talking food, we're talking activities, we're talking more nights camping and blah, blah, blah. The costings of Fraser are by far the most expensive. Now we move away from money and we're going to get into driving difficulty. I'm going to get crucified for this, but I did my research. This one's a little bit taboo, but I'm going to explain why. Coming in at 4 stars being the least difficult, the easy breezy, don't have to think about it, you don't even need to air down if you don't want to, it's Stradbroke. Like I said earlier, being majority blacktop, you can pop onto beaches, you can come off, you can drive inland tracks, which is just blacktop roads, and get around. So it is the P-plater friendly first island experience at the easiest. That one takes rank of 4 stars. The next island of the easiest to drive on, coming in at 3 stars, believe it or not, is Fraser. This is where it gets a little bit interesting and you're probably screaming at your TVs. But let me explain why. Taking into consideration the fact that all of these islands are tidal is something that I have considered. And this is where Fraser stays really competitive. When the tide is not on your side, you are still able to get around the island because the options of inland tracks is very, very high. Let alone, there's so many things that you can go and see and do in inland tracks, meaning that if the beach is smashed, the weather is bad, the sand is soft, the tide is wrong, and you just want to run around inland tracks to be able to go to Lake Mackenzie and Lake Wabi and go to the towns, you can do that. The inland tracks definitely is something that you might need a 4-wheel drive for. I highly suggest that. But the option is there to avoid the difficult stuff. In this case, when you think of driving Ngala Rocks, if you want to go to the very Cape of Fraser, as far as I'm aware, you do need to drive Ngala Rocks. Ngala Rocks is not the easiest thing to drive. It is very difficult. And that's why I understand when you're all thinking there's so many hard things to drive on Fraser. We get that. Fraser does have some tough fall driving stuff. I think that Ngala Rocks definitely is one to lead that sentence with. But the thing is, it's the alternative options that Fraser does have that allows it to come in at 3 stars. Coming in at 2 stars for driving difficulty is Moreton. Okay, Moreton, perfect example. When the tide is not on your side, you might not be able to move. Yes, there's an inland track or 2, but if you want to get down to Gutterbar, you want to get from north to south and the tide's not on your side, you ain't moving. Whereas on Fraser, if you're camped in the right spots, you may still be able to meander your way around the island and not get stuck at camp. Like at Moreton, if the tide is wrong, you're staying dead still until the tide is right. Upon my analysis, I could be wrong here. I would love to chat with you guys in the comment section about what this one. From my gauge, the deepness, I was going to say the girth. That's not what I want to say.
The width.
That's it. Thank you. Idiot, Bridget. The width of the sand on Fraser, tenfolds Moreton. Also because of that, you can have a crack at driving on high tide on Fraser. Moreton, you start to really lose that option at all, meaning that it can become very difficult to drive. And then, believe it or not, the island that comes in at 1 star being the most difficult to drive is Double Island. Because have you ever seen people try to drive DI on a high tide? You know all those viral videos that you see online with people losing their cars? 9 times out of 10 it's happening at DI. The beach completely disappears and your alternative options really start to go out the window. If the tide is up, the inland track is gone. If the tide is up, you can't drive around Rainbow. If you get stuck, you're stuck. That is why it's been ranked the easiest is Stradbroke and the last is DI, because the options just disappear out the window for the last 2. Please jump in the comment section and let me know what you think if you'd rank those differently. That's just my 5 times of visiting. That's where I ended up. Okay, moving on. We've got campsite quality. I think that's really important. We all have one thing in common. Every single one of us watching this video right now, we're all campers and we want to know that our camping options are good. So coming in at 4 stars, the winner of campsite quality. I'm talking bang for buck, I'm talking prettiness, I'm talking options, variety, space, privacy, all of it is Fraser Island. Do I even need to explain that? Oh no, my hair's falling out. Please pause. Sorry, lady things. I'll give it a 10-second explanation for the people that have never been to Fraser. The options are off the menu. You need a 10-page menu on the amount of types of camp spots that you can have. And there's lots of them and they're all a 10 out of 10. You've got the West Coast, it's absolutely stunning. You've got inland tracks, you've got little hideaways, you've got exclusive little private spots with all your mates. All right, so Fraser coming in at the massive 4 stars. If there was 5 stars on this chart, it'd probably get the 5 stars. The next coming in at 3 stars with the most competitive and campsite quality is Moreton. This is coming in at the fact that there's options, not as many options, but options on both sides of the island. You can hide from the weather. It's beautiful. You could be waterfront, you cannot be waterfront. It's amazing. And the only reason why Moreton has to come second is purely because the island's not as big, therefore there's not as many options. But if Moreton and Fraser were back to back on the same size, who then has the best camp options? Next we have Stradbroke, quite literally for the same reason. You can camp inland, you can camp on the beach, you can hide from the weather, but the options aren't as much because we're just reducing, meaning that the quantity numbers are reducing. Lastly, we have DI. You only have 1 camping option. Correct, that's a lie. You can camp on the inland. There's inland camping. But that's it. For you guys that have never been to DI before, your camping is option A or option B, and that's it. If the weather's not good on the other side, I'm on DI right now. If the weather's not good on the other side, that's not my problem. Like, you're gonna get blasted with wind and rain and all the things. So because the menu is this big, it has to come last. All right, next category, we're smashing through these. We have activities and overall attractions, the desirability to want to go on the island. And once again, I think it's self-explanatory that Fraser comes in at 4 stars. The mass of the land, and there's rainforest, there's beach, there's bays, there's inland. Because of that, you've got things like Lake Mackenzie, the West Coast, amazing private beaches that let you have like a western sunset, which is really rare for us that live on the East Coast. I know there's people from WA watching this for research purposes. I feel like I'm forgetting all of the other amazing things that it has on there, but it just doesn't stop. You can be on the coastline, it's proper coastline, you go inland and it's literally like you're up at the Cape in the Daintree rainforest. I really mean that. So it's definitely a runaway winner, okay? But I do have to shit on Fraser just a little bit. It's only the runaway winner because its landmass is monstrous. I'm excited about who ranks in at 3 stars. It's Moreton Island. The biodiversity that it has and the variety of activities that it can provide, considering that it's this big in comparison, is jaw-dropping. That's why Moreton just has me smiling from ear to ear, and it's so impressive because driving 500 meters, there's something else to do and something else to do and something else to do. I want to be on the island. I want to be in the water. I want to be on the jet ski. I want to enjoy it. I want to be out of the car. I don't want to be racking up lots of time in minutes and hours driving. The activities that Moreton provides, it can't be as much as Fraser, but my God, for its land mass, it's really fucking high. So that comes in at 3 fat stars. Number 2, Stradbroke. Same reason, we're going down in land size. There's a lot of activities, but a lot of commercialized activities I've noticed. There's bars and there's shops, but like we're campers. Like we want to go to where where the reef is, where the fish are good, where the camp spots are good, and where you can spend time in the outdoors. It doesn't have lakes, as far as I'm aware. Again, we're just the reduction of activities. Things are being closed. The island is small and it's very commercialized. And lastly, understandably, it's DI. What is there to do when you come on DI? It's come to Bayside, grab a can and drink. An amazing place, stunning, but unless you have a jet ski, there's not, the options just really aren't there. A lot of big drives, nice camping, some walking tracks. You definitely can go and see Rainbow. Sorry, I shouldn't forget about that. That's an icon of Australia. But you don't really just have this plethora menu. And when people do come here, not everyone has a surfboard. Not everyone has thousands of dollars invested into kiting gear. There's heaps to do here, but like, do you have a parasail? Are you gonna come kiting with me? Probably not, you know? So I just don't think that the options are there as much. And if they are, you've got to spend the money, and that's not what we want. Now we come to how much time off work do you need? Now, let's live in reality. I am a YouTuber, so I'm so blessed that I get to travel and deliver content to you guys all day, every day. But once upon a time, I worked a 9 to 5 and tried to do this on a weekend. That was my first experiences in trying to see these islands, trying to shove it into 2 days. I do think it's really important that we keep in consideration annual leave, time off work, the loss of your own personal money, eating into your time at work, eating into your annual leave. That's something to respect and take into note. So, taking that into note, the island that ranks in at number 4, meaning that you need very little time to experience the whole thing. You could do it in a day. DI. Tell me I'm wrong. People come up here on a Sunday and they get to see it all. They get to hit the water, hit the Bayside, see Rainbow, take the photos, get the drone shots, go camping. You could do all of that in 24 hours. It's the perfect weekend sender. Anybody local to here would agree with me. Coming in at 3 stars to not encroach into your time, the minimal amount of time that you would need to see the island is Stradbroke. People do Stradbroke for a day, Stradbroke for a weekend. If you have a really big, full Saturday and Sunday, you can see all of it. You'll be busy, don't get me wrong, but you'll be able to see all of it. You'll drive the tracks, you'll drive the beaches, you'll go fishing, you'll go jet skiing, you'll see the sunsets, you'll stay at 2 campsites if you start camping on a Friday night. And it's a very exciting weekend, don't get me wrong. You'll be busy, a busy couple or a busy solo traveler, but it can be achieved in a weekend, most definitely a long weekend. You'll have a cracker of a time on Stratty. Coming in at 2 stars is Moreton. I don't believe that you can see all of Moreton in the detail that it has in 2 days. I know people do it. I know that they do that. Do. One more time. I said do. People 100% do it. I'm shocked, to be honest. If you're watching this and you're someone that's gone to Moreton just for a weekend, you bump in on a Saturday and bump off on a Sunday, hats off to you, because that's a big financial investment to go and see something like that for just a weekend. And I've never been able to do it in just a weekend. I've been invited a bunch of times. Bridget, come with us just for the weekend. And I'm like, nah, that's a lot of money for a weekend. I really believe that the healthiest way to see Moreton, be busy, see it all, and get the best bang for buck in 4 days, 3 to 4 days, okay? Lastly, coming in at 1 star because it's going to eat into your precious time is Fraser. With the island that ranked in at 2 stars being Moreton, you could just go on a long weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Bob's your uncle, happy days. But Fraser, nah. You'll see this much of all of it. Fraser is the type of island that you're calling your boss and you're submitting annual leave. I don't think anybody can question me on that one.
There goes the speaker.
Just take a little sippers. I'm stressed out about having to tell everyone to take annual leave. Okay, so with that, Fraser, to see all of it and see it in a healthy way and get the value for your money which you deserve, you need a week. Minimum. You need a full 7 days, I reckon. Then you've left and you've seen all of it and not been rushed. You've been busy, don't get me wrong. I know you'll be moving, but you've not wasted your money. And that's not what I want. I don't want anyone to be considering this as research and wasting their money. So I've done the math for you. I didn't expect you to have a pen and paper and be able to keep track of all of this. When I put all of their star rankings in, coming in at 9.3 in last place for its total score average is Moreton Island. Very sad. Next, coming in at 11.6 for its total average is DI. After that, at 13.5 for its total average is Stradbroke. And then at 16.6, the winner is Fraser Island. Now, understandably, the default on that, I'm sure you can understand that Fraser's monster size took it away as the runaway winner and no one could compete with that. But the surprising plot twist is that Moreton Island came last. And that is purely, in my opinion, when I look at these results, that it couldn't compete because financially the costings to get on it, it started a loss and it couldn't come back from that. I'm sure that the comment section is going to have a bunch of opinion and arguing, and I fully get that. That Fraser Island winning and being the runaway winner, it does make sense. Its land mass and its options, definitely, no one could compete with that. Moreton coming last, that is BS in my opinion, but that's what the numbers say. And then we've got Stratty, and then we've got DI in the middle. Now let me put my 2 cents on it really quick. I feel like if you've made it this far in the episode, you'll probably appreciate my opinion because I've done a lot of travel, okay? In my opinion, Moreton should win as the most competitive island. I understand it's expensive, but the variety, the value of time, the options, the camp friendliness, and my overall enjoyment. I do have the toys, but irregardless of the toys, the island itself, my favorite has always been Moreton Island. If you're gonna go off my opinion, I give it a massive, fat green tick from Bridget. I'm genuinely upset that it came last. So in Bridget's opinion, I've got Moreton as the runaway winner. So far runaway winner, it leaves Fraser in its dust. Then we've got Fraser, and then we've got DI, and then we've got Stradbroke. But my opinion is very different to the results chart, so you're welcome to go off a little bit of both. But that is my island comparison. You guys have asked for an island comparison after seeing me travel around so much. And this is me giving that to you. I'm sorry that it didn't come sooner. I really wanted to put some more time and kilometers into these places to make sure that I brought the right information to you. And that is the information. I really hope this inspires some travel. Please, after this, start looking into your calendars and start budgeting to be able to get out there and come and see the South Queensland Islands. They are absolutely worth it. And better yet, if you can do a run where you do all 4 in a month, I'll be so stoked for you, all right? Please put into the comment section what you guys think is your favorite, because I would love to know what you think. And any other recommendations on episodes like this where I put my 2 cents and rank up destinations between one another that you know that I put a lot of travel and time into. We'll see you guys next week on Red Dirt Diary. Thank you so much. And don't forget to subscribe. I love you. Bye.